The old saying of the inmates are running the asylum. What do you do when an employee is insubordinate? How do you approach without losing your cool? How do you straighten out the problem, yet save face for everyone? How do you keep everybody fully engaged and fully connected and fully understanding the rules, policies, and procedures?
Voices of Victory Podcast Show. Voices of Victory Podcast Show.
It is now time for the Voices of Victory Podcast Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mario Di Leone.
I am Mario Di Leone, and welcome to Voices of Victory Podcast Show. And let's talk about a very special topic today. This is the topic that's usually loved by leaders and hated by employees. If you're an employee, you hate the word insubordination. And if you're a leader, you also dislike the word insubordination. So today's episode is a solution for addressing insubordination in the workplace. We're going to get down and dirty with this one because it's super important. Because truthfully, insubordination literally is one of the most challenging issues that you'll ever have to face in your life as a leader. Whether you're managing a team, overseeing a particular department, or perhaps you hold an executive role. The reality, the hard reality, is that insubordination, whether it's refusal to comply, whether it's disrespect or disregard for expectations, rules, and policies, overall, it has the power to disrupt morale and really disrupt efficiency. So how do you address this behavior without actually compromising your own leadership integrity or the very effectiveness of your team? In this very episode of VOV, we're going to explore the nuances of insubordination, and more importantly, how can you approach it with poise, clarity, and action? Because guess what? It's not easy. If you understand insubordination, you understand that it takes different forms. And it's essential to recognize those particular forms when they actually appear. And they can show up in a myriad of ways that literally challenge your authority, your patience, or in a subtler form that actually undermines the workflow and undermines the team. And the very first one is literally refusal to work. Okay, this is when an employee literally outright refuses to do what is asked of them, whether by directly saying no or just not taking action on a given task. That's the first major issue, the thing that you want to spot. And then we have excessive delay. So insubordination could appear as procrastination. When a task is assigned, but it remains unreasonably delayed, guess what? It can show little concern for the impact that it actually has on the entire team. And now, the next one was the hardest one of them all, is literally disrespectful conduct. This is when an employee undermines your leadership through language that disrespects your position, disrespects you. It's insulting, it's dismissive, there's remarks, it could be cutting, it could be cursing, it could be belittling, you name it. So as a leader, your approach is that you have to be centered on guidance and not punishment. So the goal is to correct the behavior and restore respect, not create an atmosphere of browbeating or fear or even high-level resentment. Now let's talk about how we could actually handle this whole thing and how we could handle it effectively. We want to handle the situation effectively without losing your cool, without losing your composure, or without losing your authority of who you are and your role. The first thing I want to bring right to this table is you have to establish clear expectations from the start, from day one. You have to ensure that your team knows what's expected in terms of behavior, work ethic, and respect for one another. This is why employee handbooks get signed. And this is why onboarding is part and parcel to that, or should be. So that's important. You, as the leader, should be the example of the standards. And if you show respect, and if you're a professional, guess what? It's much easier to expect the same from your employees. Your conduct should never undermine your authority or set a contradictory idea. And that brings us over to another thing that we could do, which is address the behavior directly. You got to remember there's a behavior and then an impact. You can actually speak to the behavior. Address the behavior directly. If an employee steps out of line, don't delay in addressing the situation. That can get really heated and bubble up and become a larger problem. You got to step into the conversation with calm authority. Avoid raising your voice or being accusatory. Instead, you got to remain calm, yet direct. It's like, hey, I noticed that you haven't completed a task that has been assigned, and it's important that we address this right here, right now. And this behavior is insubordination. And you know what? It needs to change. We have to do something about it. So this simple acknowledgement clarifies the problem without escalating all the crazy emotions. It's about you regaining control over the situation. That's going to be important. Another thing is people like choices. You have to be able to provide clear choices for resolution. Offering the employee a choice can actually be a major game changer. Let them know that there's still room for improvement and there's still things that we can do, and that their next steps can directly affect the outcome. For instance, you could easily say, hey, listen, you have a few choices here, right? We can apologize and work on this. We can get closer on this. We can improve your behavior and we can figure it out. So what's it going to be? How do you want to progress? Because we need to come to an understanding with this. And if we don't, then we'll need to discuss disciplinary actions. When you frame it this way, when you give several choices, you actually give people the agency over their action. You give them that chance, you give them a little grace to pull themselves out of it. And you could also have an understanding of the way the situation is framed for the betterment of everyone. Now, one of the best things, I think is one of the absolute best things, is implementing a PIP, a PIP. I highly recommend it. A performance improvement plan. It's also known as a PIP. So if the behavior is serious or ongoing, it may be time to set up a structured framework for improvement. So a PIP outlines the clear expectations that a specific behavior that's causing an impact needs to change and needs to change by a certain date. And there's a timeline for improvement. And this gives the employee a chance to rectify their behavior while keeping them accountable. Now, it also provides you with a documented process that they're making efforts, right? It ensures fairness, and you could also continue to rebuild rapport, because sometimes rapport can be lost, but it's a chance for you as a leader and them as the employee to rebuild that rapport together and try to rebuild the connection, right? And this ensures the fairness. It also ensures clarity that what's expected and what's involved. So, the key point is you can't let insubordination persist, because if it does, behaviors have an impact. That's what you want to understand. It doesn't have to be personal. We have to understand that behaviors have an impact. And behaviors, if they continue or they escalate, you can't shy away from taking further action. Okay, this might mean involving some of the higher ups or HR, but if you have a PIP in place, you could really turn the situation around. This can ensure that the issue is actually handled properly, and the key is really acting consistently. You have to act consistently and decisively. Letting that insubordination slide, guess what? That is going to set a damaging precedent, and other people will take notice of that. So it will undermine your leadership, and it diminishes teams' respect for your role. Now, another point that you can do is collaborate with human resources, align with HR. It's vital in these situations to align with them and to ensure that you follow correct protocols and that everybody's on the same page. It's about maintaining consistency across the entire organization. So HR is valuable because they give you advice and information and help you with the difficult conversations and perhaps even ensure that the process remains fair and legally sound. So this is crucial when you want to reinforce expectations, right? You want to be able to move forward after the situation's resolved and use it as an opportunity. And that's the thing, arguments and fights can actually be an opportunity to rebuild. We tend to look at them as being destructive, but arguments can be productive. As a court mediator, I can tell you this firsthand. It's maintaining a standard of respect, professionalism, and of course, accountability. It's also setting expectations. It's essential that all employees understand that insubordination is not tolerated and that you're committed to fostering an environment where everyone needs their responsibilities. They have to meet and rise to the occasion of their responsibilities. And the leadership mindset that you can take, that effective management is you have to be effective throughout the entire process. Your mindset should always be rooted in calm, right? Calm correction rather than punishment. Got it? Calm correction rather than punishment. You're not the enemy here. They're not the enemy here. Okay. You're the guide. It's your job to steer your team towards growth. Ensure that everyone operates to the highest of their ability and the highest of their potential. And when you stay composed and consistent, you start to foster a culture of mutual respect. And that's what it is. It's about getting back to mutual respect and high performance. It is not about tolerating insubordination. You should never. And as a leader, it's your responsibility to set the standards and enforce them. You have to stay steady in your approach, stay clear in your approach. With every situation, there should be a goal for growth, both for that employee and the team as a whole. So now, if you need further support or you want to dive deeper into leadership strategies, you can always reach out to me. My company's name is Infinite 8 LLC. I always do leadership workshops and online courses that are really designed to elevate your team. I'm here to help you lead effectively. So if you're a like-minded professional, reach out to me over LinkedIn. Have a great day and see you on the next episode.